All right, guys, today we are going to compare the Icon and the Iconic. Let's get started. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I finally got my hands on an original 5150. This is the block letter version. And thanks to Motor City Guitar for allowing me to take this home. They just got one in on trade, so I'm going to shoot these amps out right now and see how they compare to each other. By the way, if you're looking for a great deal on some gear, click the link below in the description and go to Motor City Guitar's website and get something awesome for yourself while also supporting the channel. Because if it wasn't for Motor City Guitar, I wouldn't be able to do this video for you guys. And other ways you can also support the channel is join my Patreon, link in the description. And you could go to my website, tonewars.com, which is also linked in the description, and get yourself some awesome Kemper profiles or captures for your quad Cortex. And if you're a Line 6 fan, go to Line 6's marketplace and get some of my presets. All right, so let's get started with the video. So what we're going to do is start with the clean channel on both amplifiers and compare them without and with effects. Let's switch cameras here. So as you can see, this is how I have it dialed in for the clean channel. Let's just do some further tweaking on it right now and make sure I got the best settings possible on this amplifier before I shoot it out with the Iconic. Okay, that's pretty much as good as I can get this channel to sound. I mean, this amp was not known for having the best clean channel, and that's okay, but we're going to shoot them out anyways and just see how they compare. Just so you know, when I'm using the original version, the 5150 block letter, you will just see this amp here, and if I'm going to be using the Iconic, you'll see it appear on the screen here. Okay, just so you know. All right, so now let's see how the clean channels compare without any effects, and then afterwards I'll dress them up and see how they sound then. All right, so I feel like the Iconic has a better clean channel. It's more musical sounding, it's warmer, it's got that nice chime to it, and there's no harshness to it at all. And I feel like the original version, you know, the block letter, has just kind of this really, I don't know, unmusical sound to it. It's not terrible, but in comparison, I very much prefer the Iconic cleans. So let's see how they sound when we dress them up a little bit with some effects. Let me turn on my Julia chorus and my flashback delay and do that again. All right, so I still very much preferred the Iconic clean channel. It just sounds more musical and there's no breakup in it. It's just very crisp, very clean, very musical sounding, where with the original version here, the block letter, it just kind of sounded a little harsh, and you got to be really careful how you pick the notes because it can break up pretty easily. Oh, and by the way, here are the settings that I'm using on the Iconic, just so you can compare them for later on in the video. All right, so now let's compare the crunch channels on both amplifiers. And before I do that, I'm going to do a very quick dial in on the crunch channel for the block letter. I already have the Iconic dialed in about as best as I can get it, and I just posted a picture of the settings in this video, so refer to those if you need to look back on those. So let's go ahead and dial in the crunch channel on the 5150 now. And I'm going to do it with the overdrive pedal on. I always boost every amp, and to save time, I'm not going to do it without the boost and then fine tune it with the boost. The boost is on. It's just the way it is. Deal with it. All right, so here we go. Okay, I mean, I could fiddle with this for hours, but I mean, I think that's a pretty good setting for this particular channel. I mean, this amplifier is not known to have even the best crunch channel, but I'm still going to shoot it out with the crunch channel on the Iconic, because let's see how they compare. So now let's hear how they both compare to each other now that I have this dialed in. And again, I have the Iconic. I think that's dialed in about as good as I can get it. I've had this amp for over a year now, so I better know how to dial it in by now. So here we go. I very much preferred the Iconic in that particular shootout. I mean, the Iconic had a much better gain structure. It was more together, more sculpted, and it was a lot tighter, and it was a little more compressed. I do like compressed amps a little bit more. And where I found with the original, you know, the block letter, it was pretty loose and just didn't have that tightness that I really like, and it didn't have the punch, that's for sure. So if anybody's saying like, oh, the Iconic doesn't have any low end, they're so full of shit, it's not even funny. I mean, there's tons of low end in the Iconic, and I just proved it. I just love the texture, the feel, the response, and the overall voicing and gain structure much better in the Iconic between these two channels. I mean, it just sounds way better. And it's just got a more modern sound to it. And yeah, it should, right? It's a modern amplifier. Much respect to, you know, the original. I just feel like the green channel on the Iconic is a very much more improved channel than the original. This particular shootout made me appreciate the Iconic even more. All right, so let's do a couple more riffs between these two units just to get more of a comparison between them. All right, so to be fair, let me turn up the gain a little bit on the original, and let's do a couple more riffs after I dial that in a little better. All right, let's try this again. Oh yeah, even with the gain, you know, pretty much cranked on the rhythm channel of the block letter, it still didn't keep up. It's just got that mushier kind of sound to it. The top end isn't articulate. There's not enough texture in that amplifier to compete with the Iconic. Still sounds pretty good, but it's got that softer top end. It's not as punchy. And it just doesn't have the aggression and you know, that really nice edgy top end that I look for. But again, still sounds good if you like that softer top end, but I am really preferring the Iconic in this particular part of the Shootout. So now let's make things interesting, and let's put the red channel in the block letter up against both the green and the red channels on the Iconic. So first I'm going to dial in quickly the red channel on the 5150 now and get it to sound the best that I can. All right, that sounds pretty freaking brutal. Well, that channel still holds up pretty good, I gotta say. I mean, that really does sound freaking great. So now let's hear how that channel compares to the green channel in crunch mode on the Iconic, and then after that we'll switch to the higher, you know, the higher gain channel on the Iconic and see how those compare. Wow, big freaking difference. I feel like the Iconic is punchier, more articulate, definitely tighter, and it has more aggression on the top end. I mean, that amplifier, even in the crunch mode, in my opinion, is putting up a really good fight up against the original. I think both of them sound really good, but if I was to have to choose between them right now, it would be a pretty easy choice for the Iconic. I feel like it's more brutal, even in the green channel on the crunch mode. It's even more brutal than the red channel on the block letter. Okay, so let's do this. Let's dial in the block letter even more to see if I can even them up a little bit. Okay, so I feel like that sounds even better. You know, now that I've compared them and had a chance to go, oh, what's missing on the original here? And it felt like it just needed to be tightened up, a little more low end and a little more bite on the top end. So in order to tighten it up, basically what I did is I lowered the gain down a little bit to maybe, I guess, which is the sweet spot. At least the previous owner thought so because he marked it right here. So maybe that is the sweet spot for this particular amplifier. It's been a while since I've played one of these, so forgive me for not remembering. So now that I have it dialed in a little bit better, let's shoot them out again. Okay, it's definitely closer, but I still feel like the Iconic is tighter. It's actually a little more brutal, and I think it's more articulate too. I love the articulation that I'm getting out of the Iconic. It's just that the whole gain structure is just a lot more sculpted, modernized, and you can hear all the notes better, all the chugs, all the little things that I'm doing. There's more separation in between the notes, where I feel like since the original is a little softer on the top end, the notes are glued together a little bit more. There's less separation and there's a little bit less articulation as well. That being said, I still think it sounds really good, and still tip my hat to the original, because if it wasn't for this, there wouldn't be all the other amps that came afterwards from both EVH and other companies. So in no ways am I shitting on this amplifier. It's freaking awesome. So let's do a couple more riffs between them just for giggles, because I think I got them both sounding really good, and then we'll switch to the red channel on the Iconic. Yeah, the Iconic's definitely more articulate and punchy. It's got this really nice punch to it, where I feel like the original, you know, I keep calling it the 5150 original block letter, whatever. This one right here is just less punchy. It's softer and less articulate and less brutal. Now, depending on your version of brutal, I mean, you might pick one over the other, but for my version of brutal, I really prefer the Iconic at this point. So now let's switch to the red channel on the Iconic and see how that compares to the red channel on the block letter. All right, so I just switched channels on the Iconic. Just so you know, the boost is off and the burn is not engaged. There's no burn switch engaged. So I'm just keeping things as even as I can here. So now let's hear how they compare. All right, so yeah, I'm kind of digging the red channel on the Iconic more. It's more aggressive, a lot more texture, and it's punchier and more responsive, and it definitely has the voicing that I like a little bit better. There's more compression there, and I do like more compressed amps. I feel like the original version is a little more open and softer, even comparing to the red channel on the Iconic. Let's do some more riffs. I don't think I need to do any more further dialing in on, you know, the original unit, because I really feel like at this point, after comparing it and going back and forth between this one and the green channel on the Iconic, I have this thing dialed in pretty freaking good. I mean, maybe I can add a little more resonance to it, you know, maybe a little more low end and just punch it up a little. And let's do some more riffs on them now. Yeah, they're kind of close, but I'm still preferring the red channel on the Iconic. Let's turn the gain on the Iconic down a little bit because I feel like I got it gained up. I use the red channel for my lead channel, so I have it dialed in for leads. So let's go ahead and turn the gain down a little bit on this channel so that I can make it a little more rhythm friendly. Okay, so let's try it again now. Now I have the gain at like top dead center. It's at noon. Yeah, I mean, the Iconic sounds a lot tighter now when I have the gain lowered. I was going to lower it a little bit more. What the hell? Let's do it a little bit more. Let's take the gain down to 11 o'clock and do that same riff again between them. Yeah, it still sounds punchier, more sculpted, more articulate, and more brutal. You know, that being said, for the age of the original amplifier, I mean, it's definitely holding its own here, doing a great job. I mean, I still think that this amplifier is relevant today. I mean, if you have one of these, use it. I mean, they are great sounding amplifiers, but I do have to give the win in this particular shootout to the Iconic. I literally prefer it more. I do. It's cleaner, it's more articulate, more brutal. I think all 3 channels or all 3 modes on that amplifier are better than all 3 modes on the original 5150 for my taste. I still appreciate the brutality of this amp and everything that it's done for all of us musicians over the years, but I think that James Brown did a great job doing an updated version of this amplifier with the Iconic. I really do think he nailed it. He knocked it right out of the park, did a fantastic job. There's really nothing I would change about it. You know, you could talk about the amount of tubes in both of these amps and compare that all day long, but the proof is in the playing. I played them both, and I don't care how many tubes. I don't care if there's a little squirrel on a hamster wheel chasing a nut, you know, creating the gain in the Iconic. I don't care. It sounds better, and it feels better as well. It's punchier, more articulate, and more brutal. So be that as it may, those are my thoughts and my opinions about these 2 amplifiers and how they compare, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section below. Well, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And to all my subscribers and Patreon supporters, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you can be notified every time I either go live or come out with another episode. Well, I got a lot more stuff coming up for you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.